Welcome everybody to another episode of the Will and Rock MMA podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Let's just jump straight into Conor McGregor officially retiring from MMA.
He should definitely take a good minute with him because, you know, he was a real trendsetter for this sport. You know, he's the guy that brought in the money, the real money. You know, by going out and fighting a guy like Floyd Mayweather when he went to boxing, brought so many more eyes into the sport. And it's the reason why you and I are doing it even more freely now. It's why there's so many UFCs back to back. It's why UFC was sold for $4 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's why they have an ESPN deal. I truly believe it has to do with Conor McGregor, man. He literally took the sport to another level. I mean, you know, not so much in how he was performing, but it's what as far as social media goes, right? All the entertainment behind what we consider to be one of the most respectable sports of mixed martial arts. He brought those fanatics, those people, the biggest haters are now tuning in, just like they used to tune in when Floyd Mayweather would fight for him to lose. So much more eyes he gives us a bigger platform for this MMA world.
So with that said, is it good or bad for the sport that he retired? Is it good? Maybe not the best, but you know what? At the end of the day, as a human being, outside of that, he didn't need to fight anymore. At this point in his career, if he's fighting, he's not fighting for a paycheck. He's fighting just for pride. He's fighting just to continue being the number one fighter in the world. He doesn't need this paycheck. He has enough money off the whiskey company he's dealing with now, which is just doing extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, from rumors and things that happened with like Ariel Helwani and different people that were talking about it, it was he wanted a share of the UFC, and the UFC decided, you know what, you're a fighter. You're not necessarily a businessman. We don't want you necessarily dealing with our shares. We don't want you to do that. And he said, okay, well, I'm at a point in my life where I don't need to fight anymore. I'm settled. My great grandkids are gonna be okay, settled with the money I made. I don't need the UFC. The UFC needs me. And this is the perfect example of a fighter who made a name for himself and knew when to pull out when he needed to.
Yeah, I would have
full respect for what he's done.
Yeah, we
full
appreciate
respect,
him
and
100%.
you can never. He's one of those fighters you can never say, oh, he didn't take this fight. Oh, he didn't take this fight. Nah, man, he fought the best of the best, and he beat people in their absolute prime and made them look like they should go back to the drawing board. So, kudos to fucking Conor McGregor for deciding to go do that. We're doing something a little different this time around. I just want to get on my phone and just really call out these cards because I thought it was a great card. And it was UFC on ESPN 6, Thompson versus Pettis. First fight in the pay-per-view event. In the main event was Macy Barber versus J.J. Aldridge. Macy Barber ended up winning by TKO punches in round 2,
which is very interesting because you and I had Aldridge going all the way last week. So
I thought Aldridge was gonna pull it off just by pure experience, but this is a perfect example. We always talk about this, man. Tune into these fights because these people who are hungrier than the other are gonna show up. You know.
Yeah, and it's how you're supposed to start off a card, and you know, kudos to the winner. I thought Aldridge was really gonna pull this off. Unfortunately, it wasn't her day. She got TKO, which is so interesting seeing how females have evolved in the game, where now we're starting to see real TKOs from females. Normally it was just submissions or unanimous decisions,
or brawls.
Or amazing brawls, right? So congratulations to the winner, you know.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. Next fight we had Luis Pena versus Steven Peterson, and Luis Pena ended up winning by unanimous decision.
I mean, we know Luis Pena is the killer. You know, he is the one that was supposed to win. Congratulations on the win. However, he did miss weight, but they still decided to take the fight. You know, who was it that he fought against? I'm sorry, what was the
he fought Steven Peterson.
Yeah, Steven Peterson, for still taking the fight, although he came wasn't a huge difference as far as the weight, but he did miss it by almost 2 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So but Pena has a lot in the tank, and I believe that he's going to be a top 5 contender before you know it.
Luis Pena has a specific look to him too. I find that he's going to be a little bit easier to market than most fighters in his weight class, and he is truly underrated at this point. If he gets it together and he gets the right training camp and gets the right nutritionist to make that weight for the next fight, he's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he totally dominated this fight. This wasn't close.
Yeah.
And it shows you the dominance of Luis Pena, and he trains with the top fighters as well. So kudos to fucking Luis Pena. Next fight, which was there was a lot at stake with these two Brazilians. You had Jussier Formiga versus Davidson Figueiredo. Jussier ended up defeating Davidson by unanimous decision as well. Complete domination. It went across the board. Some ref called it 30-27, but for the most part it was 29-28. Once again, Jussier is up there. Now there's talks of him one fight away from this, going into bantamweight, going into featherweight, because that weight class, there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of stir going on right now in that weight class. Perfect victory, a great victory, dominant victory. So expect a lot from this Brazilian.
I agree with you. I think Formiga has everything to very similar to, like I mentioned about Pena, to could eventually be in the top 5 contenders. Tremendous performance, very well dominated throughout the rounds. He might have lost. I would call it more of a draw in the second round, but good performance for Formiga.
Next fight we had John Medensky versus who actually defeated Jesus Pinedado with the unanimous decision as well. And once again, John completely swept that scorecard. Tremendous performance from Medensky. John continues to really be a force to be reckoned with in that division. Complete dominance.
I mean, you and I had him from the beginning, winning this fight. We expected the Peruvian fighter to come in. I mean, although we were really rooting for him, a guy like Medensky who's been in the game for a while, has been a veteran of the game. I knew he had the edge over this rookie. Great performance by Medensky, completely dominance, just like you said, and I expect him. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but stepping up to the top 10 contenders, and little by little you're going to see him going up. I don't see him as a champion. I don't think he would ever be a champion. I don't mean to be rude by any means, but I could see him getting at least anywhere between the 5 to the 10 men ranked in that weight class.
Yeah. I mean, some fighters, they turn that edge every once in a while, and then you see a complete different fighter, and all of a sudden, as he becomes one of the underrated fighters, gets put in a big card, makes a name for himself. So there's a lot of potential for John at this point. Next fight, which was somewhat of a lackluster performance by Justin Willis, but we had Curtis Blades versus Justin Willis, and Curtis Blades completely dominated. We're talking about 30-27, 30-26, 30-25. I mean, complete dominance of somebody like Justin Willis, who we spoke so highly of. Great boxing, great footwork, but was a complete standstill. And he said, I choked when I needed to punch, and he should have moved more, and that's what happened.
One of the first things that we mentioned was, is Blades going to wrestle him? And we should have known any better. That's why Blades is there for. Every fight that he's going to going forward, you're going to see the evolution of wrestling, especially with Blades. He dominated him all 3 rounds, all wrestling. Willis barely saw this stand-up game for a little bit, but he was in his back the whole time, the whole goddamn fight. Tremendous performance by Blades. Great win over Willis. I wonder who they're planning on putting with him next.
Well, he's calling out Stipe, and at this point in his career, he has all the right to. At this point, there's very little left in that heavyweight division, which is what's scaring me a little bit. I say you either give him a Francis Ngannou one more time and give him the rematch, but that's not a good look for Francis after he's been coming with a big wins, especially beating what's his name, Cain Velasquez in this last fight. So it's interesting. This Curtis Blades versus Cain Velasquez, getting Cain Velasquez back in the ring, back in the octagon might be the way to go. There's not much to be said, but it's interesting that we're not talking about the heavyweight division, and we're trying to literally dig up for fighters for someone like Curtis Blades. Anyways, last but not least, we had Anthony Pettis versus Stephen Thompson, and holy motherfucking shit. Anthony
You did
Pettis,
not see that coming. We did not see that coming.
Well, not only did we not see that coming, but it's the way it happened. He's completely getting dominated. This is a fighter who you should never give your back to, because when you think, and I told you this before, because you did say Stevens was going to win, I said, maybe, I'm giving this to Pettis. Pettis is, every time his back is against the wall, he finds a way to win. And the thing about this victory that he did, he just upped his stock, because it's not the fact that he just won, it's how he won. Another spectacular, they don't call him Showtime for no reason, right?
Sir.
End up knocking out with a Superman punch, which is just so well calculated if you stop and think about it. And for someone like Stephen Thompson, who's never been knocked out, phenomenal performance by Jeremy Stevens, and phenomenal performance
Jeremy Stevens
by
Anthony Pettis.
But the fuck, Jeremy Stevens. Thompson, kudos to him, man. Great freaking sportsmanship. Talked so highly of freaking Pettis after the fight, and at the same time, he was completely dominating. It's a little twist that he needs to do. And get back into the octagon. I don't think he should have his head down.
The interesting about Thompson, and the only person that really took advantage of him during a fight was Till, when he fought against Till. However, Thompson is a karate fighter, as we know, so his stance is pretty far from your opponent. And the only time he's going in is just to strike. The way that Anthony Pettis leaped out of the fence in order to throw that right hand, it was just too quick for Thompson to catch. That punch would have never come if there was no cage. It's just to show you how Pettis he's so well of his surroundings every time. Like all these, like, you know, when he knocked out Henderson with that kick off the cage. Understanding, very well calculated. It's understanding where you are in the octagon at all times. So it's even more credit to Pettis. You know, tremendous punch. First of all, a knockout punch, which became a Superman punch off the fucking cage. I mean, another highlight reel for this guy. Like you said, they don't call him Showtime for nothing. Tremendous performance. Now he could leap up, and now he could probably take on the winner between Ben Askren versus George Masvidal, which they just booked.
I think, man, him versus Masvidal would be a fight.
Oh, man, yeah.
God, I really can't wait. Next fight, next event, we're gonna jump straight soon. So, by the way, great card. They did phenomenal job.
Awesome.
And by the way, that fight was actually in Nashville, Tennessee. So great job to people in Nashville. Actually sold out the place. UFC on ESPN 2, Barboza versus Gaethje. That's tomorrow, by the way. That's in Pennsylvania. First fight of the night first fight of the main event is Shimon Moraes versus Sadiq Yusuf. Yusuf, it's 8-1. This kid is on a effing tear.
Yeah.
Another Nigerian fighter coming in there and freaking tearing it up. I'm not sure who this guy Shimon is, but Sadiq has been doing it for a while, and he's been doing it in spectacular fashion. So
yeah, he had a great performance. His last performance, I believe that he is one of the real come-ups in this sport, and we're gonna expect a lot more from him. A young kid from Nigeria who's gonna get his dues really soon, and we're gonna see him progress. Probably in this fight more than ever. He needs it.
Next fight, we have Paul Craig versus Kenny. I'm not even going to butcher his last name. Neseduchukwu? I can't even pronounce it. I'm not familiar with either fighter. Either way, one's from Scotland, the other one's American. It's one of those fights. Now, this fight, my friend, we got Michelle Waterson versus Carolina. I'm not even going to butcher her last name either. Oh my God, man!
This is a fight. Don't blink on this one.
This is what I'm like iffy about. So there was an interview with Carolina, and she said that she has so much respect. She really looks up to Waterson. She doesn't want to hurt her, but she knows this is her what she gets paid for. This is her job. This is her duty. She's gonna do it. You don't say that. You have to have some sort of anger going into these fights a bit for you to like.
Well,
really put in the best performance.
I wouldn't say that necessarily.
Maybe the word anger. Maybe the word anger is maybe I'm using the wrong word.
But I do agree. Like
too much respect. Way too much respect, especially for someone like Carolina who's just so well rounded, man. Such an amazing fighter. The thing about Waterson is I don't think I've ever seen both male and female, besides Jose Aldo maybe, throw the fastest leg kicks there is. Watch this fight, win or lose, watch that it's gonna happen. She finds a way, she has a karate stance, and her feet, both her front feet and her back feet are just do-do. They're extremely fast and they're so accurate. It throws your game plan off. Especially for someone like Carolina who's always so intense in front of you. This is the perfect match. This is what the fans have been waiting for. Yeah. You're looking for a women's fight. This is definitely it.
I would have to agree with you 100%. I think Waterson, great stance, really light in her feet, but Carolina could put the fucking combos together. I don't see nobody knocking anyone out in this fight. However, I do see it going into unanimous decision. But this is one of those fights that could go down as fight of the night. This is the underdog in this card. I tell you that right. And by underdog, I don't mean because it's a great fight. It's just underdog in the sense that I don't think people can understand the caliber of this fight. And for that reason, I do believe this is going to be fight of the night, man.
Couldn't agree with you more, bro. Couldn't agree with you more. And the fact that they're putting these girls in between, I'm not a fan, bro. This is a co-main event, man. This is a co-main event. Michelle Waterson has really proven herself at this point. Next fight, which I'm totally looking forward to, we got Josh Emmett versus Michael Johnson, bro. Go ahead.
Well, Josh Emmett has been on a tear, but then again, Michael's been pulling it off as of late.
He loses one fight, he comes back and he wins 3 fights.
Yeah. This is back to what you were saying before about one of the fighters. I don't remember who it is, but very similar. They go up, win 3, lose 1. Win 3, lose 1. Michael Johnson has all the potential to be a top 3 contender in that division. However, we got a guy like Josh Emmett who's a motherfucker when it comes down to the right hand. I believe it's going to go down to the wire. However, I do believe that Emmett has a stronger stand-up game than Johnson, and we might see a knockout in this co-main event.
I couldn't agree with you more. The only thing I will say is if this card were to go to decision, Michael Johnson will win it. I think Michael Johnson is a better overall, more grounded fighter than Josh is. But I do agree. There's no doubt in my mind that if this fight is going to end on a defeat, Josh Emmett has a way better chance than Michael Johnson does. Next fight, Jack Hammerson versus David Branch. David Branch, first of all, hasn't gotten necessarily his dues, and the fact that the UFC's given him a co-main event, I love it. He's one of these fighters who's literally think about the people he's fought, man. Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman, if I'm not mistaken. He fought Sosa as well. This guy has fought the best of the best, and he's in it to win it. He is a well-rounded fighter, but he's always comes up short in the big fights. He needs this win. He needs this win.
I think it's a perfect opponent for a win. They given him somebody that, with all due respect to what's the gentleman's name?
Jack Hammerson.
Now Jack Hammerson is a motherfucker, but I think it's a perfect match for Branch to win and really make a name for himself. But he needs a big knockout, man. He truly needs a big knockout because he's a tremendous fighter. As we know, he was a champion in Worlds of Champions before coming into the UFC. So we expected so much more from him.
Brooklyn native.
Yes, sir. He needs a big win. I have faith that he will win by TKO in this fight.
I hope so, man. I hope so for New York's sake. Next fight, not last but not least. Oh my fucking lord, Edson Barboza versus Justin Gaethje, bro. Where do you start with this fight? You give Barboza space, he's gonna fucking kick your face apart. You stand close, Gaethje will hunt you down through that cage and eat you alive. This fight has fireworks written all over it.
Yeah. However, let me just mention one thing. You could continue going with what you're saying, but we all know how Gaethje loves his stand-up game. That's his favorite part of the game. But what he's known for is his wrestling. If it's anybody in that weight class that you need to wrestle, it's fucking Barboza. Do not stand up with Barboza because Barboza he loves the space. He doesn't like to be too close. It's why he could throw those roundhouse kick. I believe that if Gaethje gets close, you could consider a knockout. I don't see it happening. I would like to think that if Gaethje wrestles, he wins by decision. If Gaethje doesn't wrestle, he will get knocked out.
Real quick, insider,
what round? I'm not sure.
Real quick, insider. There was a reporter talking to Edson Barboza, and his broken English. He was talking about how they said, Gaethje is the person that gets into your head. Like, what are you gonna do to control that? Like, he goes, well, that's why I have my coaches and everything. He goes, don't get it twisted. I'm a fighter. I love fighting. He goes, he wants to talk shit. He wants me to stand up. Oh, trust me. Like, I'm gonna listen to my coaches, but at the end of the day, I have to make my own decisions. You're dealing with the right. He's literally pretty much said you're dealing with the right person if you're trying to get into my head.
Yeah.
Because I will stand and bang with you. This fight has fireworks written all over it, bro.
Yeah,
it really does. Cannot wait. I do believe that, like you said, if Gaethje decides to flip the coin on him and just wrestle him throughout, he might pull this victory off. It might be actually a very boring but easy fight for Gaethje. But don't think that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu won't come into play. Because think about Barboza. He's so lanky. He could wrap legs around and he could do arm bars. He is a very well over-round fighter at this point. His stand-up game is really what's been showing because people have been giving him his space.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to put into it, bro?
No, man. I think it's a tremendous card. Last week was a tremendous card. It's back to back to back. We've been doing this, and we haven't really talked about news or much because there's so many freaking fights happening. You know what I'm saying? We have to break this down. But thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week, man.
Peace, my people.